Hello everybody, Happy New Year, hope you are all doing well. I've just been to SMD to get a quote on how much it's going to be to find and fix the slow puncture in my tyre. They said it would be about 35 quid and to pop back in about an hour because there's a little bit of a wait. So I thought, right, well that's a damn good excuse to go to Costa. So, while I'm on my way there, I will go the long way. Basically, in a previous video, while I was on my way to work, I mentioned about the Chad in the BMW and the Karren that I had to deal with while I was at the light show event at Dun & Massey. So I'm going to tell you all about them in this video. So basically, I'll start with the Chad because that was the first one that I dealt with. It was a bloke in a BMW, and the bit that I was working on, the entrance road to the National Trust site, as it sort of comes in and you sort of follow it round, and it splits from one lane into two. I apologise for the snivelling, by the way. I am full of a cold. Can't seem to shift it. So yeah, the road sort of comes down and it sort of splits off into two as you come through the ticket lanes, and then it sort of merges back into one. And I was right at the front, just where the road sort of splits into two. I was sort of stood right where the split is, and I was directing traffic, sort of, you know, put a couple of cars in that lane, couple in that lane, couple in that lane, couple in that lane, kind of thing, just to help keep the flow of traffic moving. Now, that was going really well until there was a bloke in a van who had gone down the left-hand lane. So obviously there's a left-hand lane, right-hand lane. I'd sent this van down the left-hand lane, and then there was a bit of a gap. But then it transpired that the guy in the van didn't have his tickets ready. He didn't have a signal to download his tickets. So the girl on the ticket lane, who was checking tickets, wouldn't let him through because she couldn't see his ticket, which, fair enough. Right, so the guy was sort of sat there waiting for his tickets to load. Right, so at this point I'm sending everybody down the right hand lane because the left hand lane wasn't moving. And then this idiot in the BMW is coming closer and closer to me. Now, bearing in mind, I've got a big high-vis yellow jacket, high-vis orange pants, and I was also using a flashing light-up stick, right? And I'm trying to get everybody to go into the right-hand lane, and this dickhead is coming closer and closer to me until he's literally like not even a foot away from me, and he's throwing his arm up, he's like this, pointing, and I'm like, I know what I'm doing, there is a reason I don't want you in this lane. And he's throwing his arm up at me and he's doing all this. So I thought, right, okay, you want to go in that lane, you go in that lane. So I moved out of the way, and he went down with a big smug look on his face, and I moved back. Now, I'd positioned my body in the middle of the lane, in the middle of the left-hand lane, to try and stop people from going down there because, well, there was no point, they couldn't get anywhere, you know, the van was stuck there. So I let him go through, and then Come on, are you going? Come on. Yeah, so basically, he went down and he's got this big smug look on his face. Take your time, don't worry about it, mate. Big smug look on his face, like, I got one over on the member of staff. You know, I won't be told what to do. You're welcome, arsehole. So yeah, he's you know, got this big smug look on his face. And then I started sending the rest of the traffic down the other lane, down the right-hand lane. And everybody was flowing nicely through that lane. So then obviously after a couple of minutes, the Chad in the BMW realises that he ain't going nowhere and he's watching all the other traffic that he thought he was going to beat going past him. Now, in between the two lanes, there's like this kind of stuff, these barrier kind of things, about that far apart from each other, so a car couldn't just zip through. So he starts trying to reverse, and again he got to about a foot behind me, and he's beeping his horn, and he's shouting for me to move, and I thought, no, I am that petty, I am petty as fuck. And I thought, no, you wanted to be in that lane, so you stay in that lane, buddy. So I made him stay in that lane, and I wouldn't move, and he was stuck there for about 10 minutes beforehand. He went and complained to my supervisor because I wouldn't let him change his mind after I wanted him to go into the right-hand lane. And yeah, he was just being a dick about it. So he went and complained. My manager came and asked me what had gone on. So I told her exactly what had happened. She laughed, told me that she loved it and she'd have done the same thing. So I wasn't penalised for that. Right, as you can see, I am at Costa. I have got my hazelnut, my own hazelnut. This is the morning. This is the one that they used to use in here until they changed. Right, I'm going to go have my coffee, and I'll tell you about the Karren when I get back. Oh, well, that was a very nice coffee. Yeah, I've had to start bringing my own hazelnut since they changed their syrups. Well, the hazelnut syrup anyway. So, we've just talked about the Chad in the BMW. So the Karren that I dealt with. Now, what happened with her is it was her husband, and she had a couple of kids with her. Thank you very much. Yeah, her husband, and she had a couple of kids with her, I think 3. Not the cleverest place to cross the road there, love. So, they'd come through, right, in the car, and they didn't have a parking pass. Right, they'd not prepaid parking. So I obviously told them, you know, you don't have a parking pass, I'm going to have to charge you, and it was £10 for on-the-day parking. Right. Which she reluctantly paid. Right. So she pays the £10, and she paid on a debit card, right, on a bank card. Not a problem. So they go off in and they go and park up, and then they sort of go past and go for the light show. So after I let them through, maybe 40 minutes or so, she comes back over to me with her husband and screaming kids in tow. She comes back over. You need to give me my money back. So I'm at it, I beg your pardon. What lane? What lane do you want? Pick a lane. Can't have both. your fucking earphones off. So, yeah. So she comes over and she's at it. You need to give me my money back. From behind me. So I finished dealing with the customer. And I turned around and I just went, I beg your pardon. You need to give me my money back. You charged me for parking and we shouldn't even be here. Our tickets aren't even for here. So I'm like, well, that's hardly my fault that you've turned up at the wrong event. And also you've not prepaid for parking at the event that you're supposed to be at. And she's giving me a really bad attitude and she's telling me I have to do this and I have to do that. So I turned around to her and I said, I have to do nothing for you. I said, if you're going to speak to me like that, I'm going to do nothing for you. I said, so do you want to start again? And I will radio my manager and see if we can get this sorted for you. I don't have time for this. You just need to give me my money back. I want my £10 back. So, I just said to her, I said, listen, I said, if you want to start again and speak to me with a bit of respect, I'll help you. If you're going to stand there and scream at me and demand I give you some money back for your mistake, ain't going to happen. Anyway, the manager had overheard this and come over and was asking what the problem was, and she started screaming at my manager. So obviously my manager was like, don't speak to me like that, otherwise I'll just phone the police and have you removed from site. So she started screaming and shouting and then stormed off. Her husband was saying, you know, I need your card. They can give it cash. So it was a case of, no, you paid by card. If you want a refund, if it's possible, it will be back onto the card, like the same payment method. So she threw her card at her husband, stormed off with the kids, and then straight away her husband was like, I'm really sorry about her. So I said, it's fine, it's not affected me at all. I was like, but she needs to know that speaking to people in that kind of a manner isn't going to get her anywhere in life. I was like, especially with people like me that just flat up won't entertain it. You know, it's like, I'm not a kid that she thinks she can push around. You speak to me like I'm a dickhead, I'll speak to you like you're a dickhead. It's as simple as that. I was like, I don't care what job I'm working, what kind of role I'm working. If I'm in a customer service role and you want to speak to me like that, then I'm not going to help you. Simple as, I will just tell you to piss off. So he apologised. My manager went and spoke to like the event managers, because obviously our company wasn't the event manager company. We was like a third party company just doing the car park stewarding. So he apologised anyway, and everything was sorted. They did a refund back to her card, and all was sorted. But I was like, hell no, I am not having some silly bitch thinking that she can speak to people like that. Like, she was the one that turned up at Dunham Massey for the Christmas light show, but had booked for, I think it was not Hyde Park, or was it Hyde Park? Might have been Hyde Park. It was somewhere else in Manchester anyway, another light show from a different company. So yeah, that was the story of the Karren who just got shot down. Again, they tried to complain to my manager about me, but obviously they'd also been screaming at my manager, and they didn't realise that she was the manager at the time. So the manager basically, when she tried to complain, just told her to piss off. Literally just told her to piss off. It was like, we're not going to stand for it. So other than that, I'd not had any problems with people, really. So yeah, that's the story of Karren and Chad. I thought it was hilarious. You know, a case of, yeah, respect is earned, it's not given. You know, don't expect me to speak to you with respect if you're not willing to speak to me with respect. And to finish this video off, I'm going to finish it with a really nice interaction that I had. An interaction that I was having such a bad day that day, right? So what happened was, I got into work and I was in a bad mood. I had well and truly woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I didn't want to be on the ticket lanes. I just wanted to be basically left alone and put just in the car park, just directing traffic. Did not want to be interacting with people. But my supervisor was like, no, I'm sorry, but you're one of the best on the ticket lanes. I really need you on there. I'm really sorry. So obviously, you know, I buried the bad feelings that I had at the time and, like, you know, put on a smile and got to helping people on the ticket lanes. And there was a guy who'd come through. Obviously his wife had recently broken a leg and was struggling to walk. They had booked a mobility scooter, but obviously they didn't have blue badge parking, like disabled parking. And where we were parking people at the time was right at the other end of the car park. And obviously when they came through, they said, you know, is there any possibility of trying to park a little closer to the entrance because of this guy's wife? To which I was basically like, you know what, I can't for shame send somebody who can't walk to the back of the car park. If it was at the front, if it was earlier on and at the front of the car park, I'd have been like, you know, this is as close as we can get you. Well, this was like, I don't know, it must have been about 6:30, 7 o'clock. So by this point, they were, in fact, it might have been earlier than that, it might have been about 6 o'clock. And we was literally parking right at the back of the car park. So I looked and I saw that the disabled parking area, which is right next to the door, the entrance, was practically empty. So I figured, you know what, I'm going to use my own discretion here and I'm going to let them go in there. So I did. I said, you know, it's fine, go into this blue badge area here. They did. They went into the blue badge area. They went and had the trail, saw the Christmas lights and that. And as they were coming back out, they'd sort of gone back to the car, and then the dad and the little girl had come over. So obviously I spotted them sort of making a beeline towards me, so I was like, hi, is everything okay? And the dad basically like pointed and looked at his little girl, his daughter. Now, bearing in mind, this little girl must have been 4 years old, 3-4 years old. She can't have been much older than that. and like she very shyly, very sheepishly said, "I just want to say thank you so much for helping us." That was close. Yeah, it's like she come on, she was like, "I just want to say thank you so much for helping us and being so nice and so kind." And I was like, you know what, that has absolutely just made my day. I was having such a bad day up until that moment, and for her to come over and say that, I was like, that means so much. And it really warmed my heart and put a smile on my face for the rest of the day. Right, guys, I have just got to SMD. I am now going to see if I can get this tyre fixed. So, let's see if we can get it sorted. I'll see you shortly. Right, that's Ruby's front tyre done. Apparently it was the valve that had a little split in it, apparently. So it's sorted that. It's just cost me 35 quid. Right, so I hope you enjoyed the story about the Chad in the BMW and the Karren that turned up at the wrong place. I thoroughly enjoyed both those interactions at the time and telling you all about it. So, yeah, so that's that. Front wheel, hopefully now, is sorted. So I'm going to make my way home now. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now, guys. Ride safe.